Welcome in to the Money Down, presented by BetPrep College Football Edition. Chris Schubert filling in for Tamara Brown. It's guys being dudes on a Saturday. Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino, the final Money Down college football episode of the season. And boy, rivalry week has given us a bunch of games. Gentlemen, are we ready? Do we feel good? The final week of the season for you guys to make picks here on the show. We're going out with a bang. That's what we said in the pre-show. We're going out on top.
I'm ready. Yes.
Oh,
approval Maraca
on
a
Saturday.
Maraca is back.
That's beautiful.
You know what? On that note, we have so many games to get into. Let's jump right into it. First game,
Please.
Kyle, this is your backyard here. Ohio State, Michigan, Jim Harbaugh. There's so many implications, gambling-wise in this game, draft-wise. There are implications in the college football playoff. This is the marquee matchup of the day. So when you look at this matchup, Ohio State, Michigan, two teams that you know very well, where are you leaning in this game? You see that weather in the bottom right corner for this game. Where are you going for this one?
Yeah, so I couldn't find the stomach to bet the spread. I'd really like to think this is the year that Michigan can give Ohio State a run for their money amid this 8-game win streak for the Buckeyes. Michigan, by the way, has won just 3 times since 2000 in this rivalry matchup. But with how well Ohio State's playing offensively, the explosiveness we've seen from Michigan against some of the quality defenses they've played this season, I think I like the over more. Michigan is averaging over 30 points scored against Washington, Michigan State, Penn State, and Wisconsin combined this season. And all but Michigan State are top 30 scoring defenses, although I'm not sure Washington's still there after the Apple Cup last night. And Penn State and Wisconsin are top 5 defenses in scoring defense. So if Michigan can get 30 on those teams, and then you consider both Ohio State and Michigan are top 15 scoring teams on offense, averaging 84.1 points per game combined this season, I like the chances on the over. I got this locked in last night at 63.5. It's moved to 64.5. I'm still riding with it. Despite the snow, despite the cold, Michigan is averaging 33 points in the last 2 matchups against Ohio State and has still managed to lose by an average of 26 points per game across those 2 games. Hammer the over. I'm taking it.
Joe, you see the trends on the right side of the screen. Ohio State 14-0 on the road in their last 14. Michigan 1-16 as underdogs. You take those 2 pieces of information. Where are you going in this football game?
You go right to Ohio State covering this 7-point spread. Michigan is playing as well as they ever have again under Jim Harbaugh, but this Ohio State team is absolutely hitting its stride right now. They're playing their best football at the right time. This Buckeyes passing game is unreal. Michigan's passing game is average. And where I get concerned for teams that can beat Ohio State, it's when they can really throw the football. But Michigan, they're not that team. They're balanced on offense, and I just don't trust them to take advantage of a suspect Ohio State secondary. The Buckeyes are too explosive on offense. I think they win and cover, and I like those those game trends that you pointed out there, courtesy of our friends over at BetPrep.
They fit right into your pick there, Joe. That was very good.
Yes.
You taking Ohio State -7. You saw the fan vote in my box. Listen, there's a reason I'm off this show, and I'm only filling in. My picks were not very good, so you're not getting any picks from me here today on a Saturday. But you saw the fan vote, and you can vote on our Instagram page at the Draft Network to be able to do that. Guys, let's move to the SEC. Alabama, Auburn. Auburn looking to maybe spoil things for Alabama, who still find themselves in the college football playoff picture, the SEC championship game right around the corner for them. Auburn looking to do that. Joe, I'll start here with you. You look at this game. Auburn getting 20.5 points at home. 57's the total. Where are you going in this one?
Well, Kyle couldn't stomach the spread in Ohio State and Michigan. I definitely can't stomach this spread. And so it's just too big of a number for me. The better team is on the road, and it's a rivalry game. Auburn's offense has been fluttering over the last 3 games. There's just I have a hard time with buying in on the spread here, and that forces me to look at the points total, and I like the over. Alabama's offense has been humming. They've scored at least 41 points in 9 of their 11 games this year. I think you can comfortably rely on a 40-burger from Alabama, especially against an Auburn defense that has some talent, but they've been average at best so far this year. The concern right here with this over is whether or not Auburn can score 17 or push for 20 points. I'm hopeful that at home in a rivalry game that they open the bag up against a Crimson Tide defense that hasn't been dominant this year. They're allowing 20 points per game on average. So I think this is a manageable over to hit, and it's what I feel best about in a, what's always a fun game here between these 2 programs from the state of Alabama.
Kyle, I will say this. we've talked about this Alabama team all year, and we've talked about how, maybe not as good as Alabama teams in the past, still a 3-score favorite on the road
Yeah.
in a big game at the end of the season, right? It's just the way this works. Where are you going in this one?
So I'm the inverse of Joe. I wanted to bet the over here. But Bo Nix, renowned for his play at home, he's out of the picture. He's not playing. I feel a little queasy about the Tigers' ability to score points in this contest. And I do agree with Joe that I think you can probably count on a 40 burger from Alabama. So go ahead, give me Alabama minus 20.5 in this contest. They're going to look to roll into Atlanta at high tide amid their playoff aspirations. One of the ways Auburn could keep this game close is with special teams, but their kicker, Anders Carlson, is also out. So Auburn, they're not dominating the line of scrimmage on either side against Alabama. They're at a coaching disadvantage, a quarterback disadvantage, a special teams disadvantage, trenches disadvantage. Roll Tide.
Hey, Kyle, I got a question for you. Alabama going to be at the SEC championship game next weekend, right? Do you happen to know anybody else that is going to be at the SEC championship game next weekend? Do you happen to know anybody?
Yeah, Draft Dudes will be there.
Draft Dudes, TDN in Atlanta for the SEC championship game next weekend, partnering up with Bud Light Seltzer. Kyle and Joe will be there playing games, hanging out for the SEC championship game. So if you're going there, that's the second approval maraca of the show. So if you're heading out to the SEC championship game, you can hang out with Kyle, Joe, the TDN team. I know it's only the second game, we've gotten it twice. The CSX parking lot right across the street from the SEC championship game, Alabama and Georgia next weekend. So make sure to check that out. Kyle, we go back to your backyard. We go back to the Big Ten. Penn State, Michigan State, battle for the land-grant trophy. You look at this game, you see the fans, they've gone Michigan State +4 in this football game. Where are you looking in this game?
Well, I would have liked Michigan State if not for the report that came out yesterday that as many as 20 players for Michigan State could be out with the flu bug, and as many as 8 starters. We don't know who a lot of those are. So I'm going to stay away from the spread in this contest as a result. And you can give me the under on 52. It's another 31 and snowy contest. You consider the Penn State's offense is modest, sans a few pass catchers. That's enough for me, as though this is going to be a struggle to score points with consistency. The Penn State defense is one of the best in the country in finishing drives. Michigan State is in the bottom third of the FBS offensively in the same category. And if Michigan State is missing guys like Thorne or Walker or Naylor, that could be really tough sledding. Furthermore, Penn State's offense is bottom 15 in the FBS in line yards, rushing success, and big plays. They're also bottom third in FBS in finishing drives and havoc on offense. I'll pass on over 52 and take the under on this 51.5.
Well, Kyle, over 0-5 in the last 5 Penn State games, as you see, according to the game trends on the right side of the screen. Now, Joe, I'm going to let the listeners in on a little bit of a secret here. You had a pick for this game. The news of the morning changed that pick. So this is a late change for Joe. He's done this each of the last 2 weeks after not doing this a single time during the season, making a late change to his pick. He was 0-1 when he did it last week, but he's committed to it this week. Joe, what has the switch been this week?
Yes, I originally liked Michigan State at home with the points, but I think the health concerns over the team, the massive questions about who's going to play, I think the pick has to be now Penn State to cover less than a touchdown in my mind. The Lions, rock solid on defense, NFL talent at every level, and I think they can really take advantage of an undermanned Michigan State team today at home. And Kyle last week when we were talking about Ohio State and Michigan State, he talked about the talent discrepancy that existed between the two programs. And, Mel Tucker's done a lot with this team, but it's still not fully built out. I think that Penn State, in terms of where they are as a program and their life cycle as a program, at least in terms of assembling talent, I think they're going to have that advantage. We have a lot of unknowns about this Michigan State team. It's not that big of a spread. I'm comfortable with the Lions here to lay the 4 points and take care of their business.
Let's get some Big 12 love on the show. Oklahoma State.
We have to.
Don't worry, Kyle. You'll get to go on that soapbox here in a second. A Oklahoma State team that, until maybe recent weeks in which they've moved up to now 7 in the CFP, a underrated Oklahoma State team. You look at this matchup, Joe, welcoming in an Oklahoma team that has been all over the place throughout the season. You see a number in this game only being in the 40s is always interesting. Yeah. You have a 4.5 point spread at home for Oklahoma State. When you look at this matchup in the Big 12 with everything that's on a line in this game, what stood out to you?
Well, I don't have any confidence in the Sooners, and I especially don't like the Sooners with the rumors swirling about Lincoln Riley and LSU. And so that really nudges me towards Oklahoma State, who's a really good football team here. They've been sound all year long. Their defense has been exceptional. Over their last 4 Big 12 games, they're only allowing 5.75 points per game. Meanwhile, the Sooners haven't touched 30 points since Halloween. And so I think the Pokes, they need to make a statement here to force the hand of the College Football Playoff Committee. I think they do that and win by at least a touchdown today. And I really like what I'm seeing here in the game trends here. Oklahoma State 9-0 against the spread in their last 9 games. Make it 10-0 after today.
Well, Kyle, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say you're not going to pick Oklahoma in any capacity in this game. And honestly, I'm surprised you have teams left to pick from for these games with how many teams are on your list on a weekly basis.
Well, there's the list, and then there's Oklahoma's list. They are in a stadium, section of the stadium of their own as far as so far down my S list, it's not even funny. So, Oklahoma, look at me. I need you to score some points today. I'm not betting you because you're an overrated team that's living on the collapse of Texas in the Red River rivalry to offer any kind of respectability to your program this year, and you lost to the only good team you've played thus far. So I'm not betting you. I'm taking the over on 49.5. It's a Big 12 game, damn it. If you can't get over 49.5 points, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if Oklahoma State's good, but I know Oklahoma State is bad. They should feel bad about all the units they've lost me this season, and I expect them to continue to be uncooperative with bets against the spread. So I'm taking the 49.5 on the over, hoping Oklahoma's offense shows up. That'd be cool, but I'm not holding my breath.
That felt very old school Southern wrestling style promo that Kyle just cut on the entire Oklahoma football team in order to get them to score some points. Also, if they can't score points in the Big 12, maybe they should just go to another conference or something. Maybe they should just go someplace else and play somewhere else in a couple of years. Speaking of the conference that they may be going to in a couple of years, Texas A&M, LSU. These two teams, not really anything at play in terms of SEC championship or winning their division. But listen, a Texas A&M win here sets you up for some potential bowl possibilities. So obviously there's big things at play here. Kyle, I'll go to you here first. A&M on the road going to LSU. You're shaking your head already. This doesn't feel like one that maybe you felt great about. Where are you going?
Well, yeah, I don't feel great about it. I don't love Texas A&M 0-9 against the spread against LSU in their last 9 because I am taking Texas A&M minus 6.5. I so desperately wanted to take the Tigers in Coach O's swan song. They're at home. Can't do it. This Aggies defense is elite in a number of categories. They got a lot of NFL talent on it. I think the math is just too steep to get behind a bet for LSU, who's likely going to be glad to see another disaster season come to a close with a loss. I don't think they're really going to be beating themselves up too much if they don't finish with bowl eligibility. They'll probably be glad to put this whole saga behind them with what the last 2 years have been for this program.
So, Joe, you just heard Kyle talk about this. You see the trends. LSU 53-12 at home in their last 65 games. A&M 0-9 against the spread against LSU. Are you going against Kyle? You joining him, staying away from the spread altogether?
Yeah, we're going to join Kyle here on the Aggies minus 6.5 today. I don't have any confidence in LSU right now. So many injuries, a coaching staff that is on the way out. They haven't scored more than 17 points in their last 3 conference games. Meanwhile, the Aggies are terrific on defense. They've proven able to score against middling defenses, and that's exactly what the LSU Tigers are. I think there's a clear vision for the Aggies program. LSU is trying to find theirs, and so give me a Texas A&M team to cover a touchdown on the road under all of these circumstances.
Now, Joe, this next game I'm going to go to you first because it's a team that's in your backyard in Clemson in the ACC, the region that you cover for the Draft Network. This game, in years past, I would say in the last 5-7 years, normally has a different connotation to it, right? It's the end of Clemson season. At this point, they either have no losses or 1 loss, and this is just them setting themselves up for the ACC championship game, a college football playoff berth. That's what this game normally has for Clemson at the end of the year. Not so much this year. They have to go on the road to South Carolina. They already have 3 losses this year. They're 11.5-point favorites on the road, but this is a different Clemson team. This is a different year. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, it's certainly our different circumstances surrounding this game, but I still like Clemson to win and to cover. So 11.5, I'm fine laying for the Clemson Tigers today. And it really comes down to me watching this Clemson team and seeing the offense show plenty of signs of life here over the last 4 games after a bumbling start to the season. They're actually averaging 38 points per game over their last 4, and they scored at least 30 points in all 4 of them. And so we like to see what this offense is doing, and we know how capable this Tigers defense is. Meanwhile, South Carolina has been consistently inconsistent all year long. And so I think the talent advantage for Clemson shows up, and they win and they cover. And I think this is the kind of game that you really like Dabo Swinney to kind of just rally the troops and say, hey, this season didn't go the way we wanted it to, but let's take care of business in this rivalry game and really set the foundation and the tone moving forward into a year where everyone's going to be expecting the Tigers to bounce back.
Not to sound too cliche, but rivalry week, throw the records out the window, right? You just forget about it all. This is a game that every year you circle on the calendar, you look forward to it. Kyle, for you in this game, you joining Joe?
I am not, but I'm not against Joe. I agree with a lot of what Joe said. I'm pleasantly surprised to find out that Clemson remembered how to score points. 44 against Wake, 44 against UConn the week before that. It's UConn. Okay, I get it. 30 against Louisville and Florida State the 2 weeks prior to that. I'm on the over. 43 points in this contest. I think Clemson, their run game has an advantage in both line yards and rushing success that I think is going to allow them to stay ahead of the chains, move the ball with some consistency. I think this is a pretty modest number. I know Clemson's defense is very ferocious. I know South Carolina's offense it's been like pulling teeth at times this season, but I have a lot of confidence that Clemson is going to be able to move the ball with some consistency. And, to Clemson's credit, Joe made the point this is not the season anybody expected out of the Tigers. But with a win against South Carolina and a bowl win, this is a 10-win season for Clemson, which is a testament to just how far this Clemson team has come since the Clemsoning of the early 2010s. So I think they'll have plenty to be motivated about, never mind the fact that it's a rivalry game. Give me the over, score some points.
Yeah. When a down year is a potential 10-win season, that just shows you where you sit in the college football hierarchy and how good of a program you're running. It's back to the Big 12 for us. Baylor, Texas Tech, and this Baylor team, they've been stingy all year. They've been a thorn in the side of the Big 12 plans of Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State didn't win those games. But again, thorns in the side on the schedule. They're going to host the Red Raiders today. You look at this game, Kyle, where are you going?
Well, if you look at the weather forecast, you could see there is some rain in the forecast, which I think plays into the hand of the Baylor Bears at home. And Baylor's going to be plenty motivated. I'm taking Baylor minus 14. I don't really have a lot of motivations for this other than I do think Baylor's motivated to handle their business. They're hoping for a break in Bedlam so that Baylor can get a chance to play in the Big 12 Conference Championship game. The good news from that perspective, this game's at noon and Bedlam's a late game. So there's no scoreboard watching for Baylor. Just show up, take care of business, and then go sit in the locker room after you wax the floor with Texas Tech and go see if you get the break that you need to go play in a conference championship game. Tech is in the midst of a coaching change. They're sport a losing record all-time in Waco. I think there's enough variables here that can get me behind a big win for Baylor, needing to take care of business today.
You love a noon Big 12 kickoff on a Saturday. There's nothing better than the Big 12 starting it. It's absolutely fantastic. Joe, agree with Kyle. Disagree with Kyle.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle. And this Baylor team is forcing you to buy in. And so I like them despite laying 14 points. They had a statement win over Oklahoma. They had a big win on the road last week against an underrated Kansas State team, and thought that showed a lot in terms of what the makeup of this team is. Meanwhile, Texas Tech was shut out last week against Oklahoma State. That's the first time in 302 games that the Red Raiders were held scoreless. So 97 the last time that happened. Baylor is a balanced football team in every facet, whether it's running the football and passing the football on offense. They also stop the run and stop the pass on defense. They're good, legitimately good football team. And so I think they feast on a bad Tech defense today, and their defense can do more than enough to limit the Red Raiders on offense, especially if there's rain. I think that is a major benefit to Baylor in this football game if it does get wet out there.
So as we get into our next game, I want to take everybody behind the scenes for just a second. When we put together the list of games every week, there's always one that you circle and you go, ooh, that's going to be a tough one to pick. That's going to be a tough one. That could go either way. This was the one for me when we decided that this is the game we were going to talk about, that I was like, I have no idea where the guys are going to go because I have no idea what to make about either of these two teams. So, Joe, I'll give it to you first. Florida State, Florida, where are you going?
Yeah, so 2 5-6 football teams right now, but there's a completely different feel about Florida being 5-6 versus Florida State being 5-6. Florida's they've lost 5 of their last 7 games with their only 2 wins coming against Samford. Again, no N, no T, Samford, and Vanderbilt. Their overall resume this year stinks. Their resume of wins: Samford, Vandy, Florida Atlantic, South Florida, and Tennessee. That's it for the Florida Gators this year. Now, Florida State, they aren't world beaters or anything like that, but they've shown a lot of fight here, especially late in the season. They showed up in recent wins over Miami and Boston College, where I doubted that team. And so outside of the Wake Forest game, Florida State has been competitive all year long. The winner of this game becomes bowl eligible. It's funny, we kind of talked about this with LSU. Do they really care about being bowl eligible? The same thing applies to Florida. Florida State would love to be bowl eligible. That'd be a big deal for their program. And I think that Florida would be just fine staying home and putting this season behind them. I like the Seminoles getting 3 points in this one. Give me the Noles.
Kyle?
I loved everything he said. Joe took most of my talking points. So that's how you know great minds think alike. We're on the same wavelength. That's cool. Joe, you missed an opportunity here, my friend, because the money line cashes. I can get a positive ROI on a money line bet in an in-state rivalry game against a team that's a bigger dumpster fire than Florida State. Yes, please. It worked against Miami when we did it a couple of weeks back. It's going to work again against Florida. Florida State looking to get revenge as the Gators have handled this rivalry as of late. But they have a couple of big wins back-to-back and have strung together some momentum, as Joe said, versus Florida, who is really flailing right now amidst all the drama that's taking place in their coaching search. Give me the Florida State money line. Florida State, bowl eligible, get a nice little payout here, plus 135. I like that return on investment.
Kyle, that's kind of your brand, taking these opportunities to take a team on the money line, get a little extra juice, and make some money here at the end of the season. Again, got to go out with a bang, right? It's the last week of the season. Got to go out on top. One more game here in the main portion of the show. Kentucky, Louisville. You see the fan vote, 59% for Kentucky. Kyle, I'll start here with you in this football game. I look at this number, Louisville being a 3-point favorite at home. I know they're home. I was a little shocked by this.
So was I. And, you said the money line bets for dogs are my brand, and I almost did it again here. I did not. I got 8-3 Kentucky. They've gotten a few get-right games after their hot start faltered with 3 straight losses to Georgia, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. Louisville has had a few get-right games of their own the last couple of weeks, but I don't trust the Cardinals against an SEC defense. I know Malik Cunningham has a lot of speed. So does this Kentucky defense. I can get the Wildcats at +3, and I think they can win outright as the better team. Ole Miss waxed this Louisville team at the start of the year. I see no reason why Kentucky can't keep this thing within 3 at a minimum, given their advantage in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
Joe, Kentucky, Louisville.
Yeah, I agree with Kyle here. I'm on the same page. A really similar thought process to get to Kentucky +3. Louisville's just a tough team to figure out, but this line to me feels like an overreaction to their last 2 wins where they combined to beat Duke and Syracuse 103-25. And so I don't think Kentucky's going to be intimidated going into Cardinal Stadium where they have a more talented team. They're a tough team. They're a physical team. And I just kind of like all the ingredients of this Kentucky team against Louisville, who's been up and down, inconsistent. And, both teams, like Kyle said, had a couple of tune-up games here, but I really like what Kentucky is capable of, and the inconsistency of Louisville is makes this challenging. And I think that Kentucky will embrace the underdog role here with a more talented football team and take care of their business today.
I'll tell you what, guys, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel pretty confident in saying this. This is a week, the last week of the season, where you both can win. You didn't go against each other on any of these picks. In games in which Kyle took it over, it's not like Joe took it under. So everybody can be happy here to end the season. You can both run the table and finish off with a big time week. So that is that is something to root for here. The third approval maraca of the first segment of the show. Coming up on the other side, we have more breakdowns to have here on the show. You're watching The Money Down, presented by BetPrep, here on the Draft Network YouTube channel. Welcome back to the Money Down College Football Edition presented by BetPrep. Chris Schubert, Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino. It is that time. We do this each and every week here on the show. It is time for the BetPrep Breakdown. Patrick Everson, props.com, joins us each and every Saturday. Patrick, it's the last Saturday for us here on this show, and boy, do we have a good list of games to talk to you about. And I think the only place I can start this conversation, right, the only place that I think is reasonable to start this conversation is Ohio State and Michigan. This is a massive game. There's probably money all over the place in this game. What do you got for us?
Well, and you're right. And thanks for having me this morning and all season long. I appreciate it to Kelsey and Tamara all season long, and of course to all of you. Scott Shelton said very late last night, BetMGM Nevada, a ton of money and tickets on the game, which is no real surprise. And the bulk of the tickets and money at most spots that I talked to was heavily in favor of Ohio State. I don't think anybody's terribly surprised by that. Although the number did begin to come down yesterday, touched 7 at several spots. I think Circa Sports was the first to go to 7. So I think you can infer that there was some legitimate sharp play coming in on Michigan. But still, most books are going to need Michigan today, and definitely BetMGM Nevada, and honestly BetMGM nationally. I'm checking their number, double checking their numbers right now, and pretty close ticket count nationally for BetMGM, 54% Ohio State, but that's translating into 79% money. So almost a 4-1 count on money in favor of the Buckeyes. And you can bet that the Buckeyes are in the parlays, the teaser, the parlays, moneyline parlays, and at that number, teasers as well. So that's going to be a huge need. And I know BetMGM Nevada's also got one significant six-figure play. Somebody got a six-figure play in Ohio State at -8.5, so totally got the best of the number. It's a huge game, and I don't see any book not needing Michigan in multiple ways on this one.
So very quickly, because we're going to go back to the Big Ten here in a second, but
Sure.
I'm going to switch gears to the SEC.
Sure.
Alabama, Auburn. This is a big game for a lot of reasons. Auburn trying to play spoiler for Alabama. Alabama on the road in a year in which they're not as dominant, not as good as we've seen them in years past. Still a 20.5-point favorite on the road. We've heard you talk on this show about a lot of people take the first half Alabama money line. All of that stuff is in play here. So when you look at this game, where's the money in this one?
Yeah, well, first half spread. And since you mentioned it, I'll mention it. This is as of late last night. I'm going to guess it hasn't changed much this morning, but late last night at BetMGM Nevada, Scott Shelton told me 100% of tickets and money on Alabama -11. I will say that, and I've noted this of late, the volume has dialed back on Alabama first half. There's not as many tickets. There's not as much money, but people still aren't really interested in taking the other side. There's just fewer people taking Alabama because they that hasn't been quite the jackpot that it's really been over the last couple of seasons. It's kind of settled down in the latter half of this season. As far as the whole game itself, BetMGM Nevada went from 19.5 to 20.5, and Scott said tickets almost dead even, but money 10-1 in favor of Alabama. Some decent low and kind of low to mid 5-figure plays coming in on Alabama. Nationally on this game at BetMGM, just to give you the whole big picture, it's honestly quite a bit closer. 51 tickets pretty much dead even. 51% Alabama, money 57% Alabama. But again, I think this is a situation where you're going to have parlays, moneyline parlays, teasers loading up on Alabama. So they'd probably love to see Auburn do more than cover. They'd love to see them spoil this and spoil Alabama's season and break up all that money, parlay, moneyline parlay, and teaser action, no question.
So back to the Big Ten, Penn State, Michigan State. We didn't talk about this much in the Ohio State-Michigan game. There's a lot of weather in the forecast for Michigan today that might impact the way that these games play. Where is the money trending in this football game right now?
Yeah, it's trending Penn State. Michigan State's got a bunch of sick players, apparently. This line's moved a ton over the last 24 hours or so, and it had already moved significantly toward Penn State. This was a game that opened Nittany lines +1.5 at BetMGM Nevada. Pretty quickly early in the week, got to that -1, -1.5 range, made its way to 3.5 by last night. Now I'm seeing 5.5 at multiple spots. Apparently Michigan State's got illness and injuries, but a flu bug going around the team where they might be missing quite a few players. Here in the BetMGM Nevada, tickets 2-1 Penn State, money 10-1. Scott Shelton said the Sharps and the public are on the same side in this game, and that's something they hate to see behind the counter. No question when the Sharps and the public are double dipping on them. Nationally on this game at BetMGM, it's about a 2-1 ticket count Penn State, and money a little bit shy of 4-1 on Penn State. So certainly taking the road team here, and it's look, this like I said, a huge mover. Apparently, several starters going to be out for the Spartans today. Not an ideal situation for Michigan State at all.
And the last game that we have for you, Big 12, Bedlam, Oklahoma State.
Oh,
you have an Oklahoma team that's been inconsistent all year. Kyle swears that he won't bet on them, has not bet on them probably in like 6 or 7 weeks. And an Oklahoma State team that's trending upward at the right time, right? They're kind of peaking and putting themselves in the college football playoff conversation. So I'm interested to see how Vegas is seeing the money come in on this Oklahoma State team in this game in particular.
Yeah, multiple books I've talked to last night and this morning are seeing actually two-way action on this. BetMGM Nevada, somewhat. It's, Scott Shelton told me that tickets are almost dead even, but money 4-1 on Oklahoma State, which has gone from -3.5 to -4.5. A couple other books, like I said, have seen, pretty close two-way action in some cases, of maybe more tickets on Oklahoma, maybe a little more money on Oklahoma State. BetMGM nationally on this game, almost dead even on tickets, but 71% of money on Oklahoma State. So kind of a similar picture at BetMGM. Looks like I said, a few books are seeing good two-way on this, but BetMGM a little heavy to Oklahoma State on this game. And to your point, Oklahoma State's made a really nice move these last several weeks, and they're definitely, if things fall right in with today's games and the conference championship games next week, they could definitely get in the picture. I was talking a couple of weeks ago about how this would be a good flyer play if you have books, which a lot of these states do, that offer to make the college football playoff. I thought, starting about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I thought Oklahoma State was a really good play there because you could get some value on that. And it still might be a decent value to take a look at that. I don't think they're going to win the national championship, but they've got a worth taking a shot at making the Final Four.
Patrick, we always appreciate you hopping on with us, giving us some breakdowns here ahead. We got you on the NFL show tomorrow and for the remainder of the season over there, but greatly appreciate you joining us each and every Saturday. We will talk to you tomorrow.
You bet. You guys have a good Saturday.
You Thanks, as Patrick. Well. When we come back on the Money Down, presented by BetPrep, it is the Go for Twos. It is the bold bets. It's the leaderboard update. All here on the Money Down, presented by BetPrep. Welcome back to the Money Down, presented by BetPrep. Chris Schubert, Kyle Krabs, Joe Marino. The last portion of the program. Leaderboard, Go for Two, bold bets, all here to get you ready. About a half an hour from all of these games starting. And I know Kyle has looked forward to this since the production meeting on Wednesday. This morning he was asking me about it, if it was ready to go. I said, you just got to give me a second. We'll get it ready. So Henry, if you could please, for Kyle, put up the leaderboard from last week so we can check these results out of how Kyle did last week. It was a good week for
Second
Kyle.
Best week of the year.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Joe, I didn't – listen, Joe, I'm sorry that we're putting – it was a bad week for you last week, but Kyle was just so adamant that it needed to go up because he had a good week. So just blame Kyle for all of this, for last week's results, all right?
Good job, Kyle. Good bets, man. Way to deliver.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I would like the record to state I'm plus almost 3 units in the past month of this show.
That is very impressive, but you know what? You both are going to go perfect today, and it's just going to all be okay, right? That's how this is going to work. So with that in mind, the Go for Two picks, Joe, I'm going to start here with you because this is normally where you do something funky. Some 3-unit plays come out here.
We're going all over the place with our Go for Twos this
funky.
week. I tried the ACC thing. Sometimes that
didn't work.
1-1. Yeah. We're going all over the place. Let's go to the Pac-12, a conference that I'm really dialed into. Cal and UCLA. What I like here is the over on 58 points. I like this Bruins offense, guys. I mean, they average 36 points per game, over 200 rushing yards per game. They can throw it a little bit as well. Zach Charbonnet has been dominating in terms of running the football, and we know that the Bruins play with great pace. And, Cal, not super impressive on offense, but they have an experienced quarterback. They're coming off scoring 41 points last week against Stanford. And so I'm thinking UCLA gets to the 40s. Cal can challenge for the 20s, and that's our path to the over in this one. I just wanted to kind of bring UCLA back into the picture here. I've done well when I've counted on them to be right this year on bets. And so for one of my last Go for Twos, I wanted to include the Bruins.
Do you know what I appreciate so much about what Joe's done here, Kyle, is he's willing to just try stuff in the Go for Twos, right? He's willing to, we're going to go ACC related, or we're going to go 3-unit plays and double down on a pick we made earlier in the show, right? He explores all of the potential options, and this week it was a Pac-12 over. So I appreciate that out of you, Joe, if nothing else. Kyle, your first Go for Two here on a Saturday.
The world is his oyster, and he can make it whatever He wants it to be. Now, interestingly enough, I almost took UCLA with the spread. I did not for my first go for two because I saw the money and the ticket count was heavy on Cal, and that scared me off. So I am staying with what has worked for me for the last couple of weeks, which is Big Ten exclusive for both of my go for twos. I'm staying in my scouting region for my responsibilities over the Draft Network. Wisconsin against Minnesota. I am buying a half a point. Renowned coward Kyle is back again this week, buying half a point to 6.5. Wisconsin minus 6.5 over Minnesota. This is a road game for the Badgers. I do not care. The Badgers are playing for a berth in the Big Ten championship game. They are playing tremendous football right now. Over the course of the last 2 months, they've won 7 in a row by an average of more than 21 points per game. Minnesota may have gotten some juice by hearing that Mo Ibrahim was going to be back in 2022, but that man ain't walking on the field in this football game. The Gophers, fading hopes of a Big Ten West title. They're going to win and need help to get in. And this Wisconsin defense is just filled with monsters right now. Minnesota will need to pass the ball to win the game. And I do not trust Tanner Morgan to do that against this Jim Leonard defense with all the complexities that they show opposing offenses on a weekly basis. Don't care that Minnesota's at home. I don't care that there's Paul Bunyan's axes on the line. Wisconsin has won this game by more than one score in 8 of the last 10 meetings. Make it 9 of the last 11. They're going to win big. Badgers.
Kyle and buying points, name a more iconic duo. Our second go for two here on the show. Kyle, I'll start with you. Why don't you get your
okay
riding high off of buying your half a point for Wisconsin? What you're gonna probably buy 6 points in another game here and just whatever. Go ahead, do what you're gonna do.
Joke's on you, jackass. I'm not buying any points in this one. Purdue over Indiana, minus 15. I am taking the Boilermakers. And if you want to know why, let's take a little walk through Indiana's Big Ten schedule this season. 28-point loss to Iowa. 24-point loss to Penn State. 5-point loss to Michigan State. Good job. 47-point loss to Ohio State. A 3-point loss to Maryland. Good job. 1 score. 22-point loss to Michigan, 35-point loss to Rutgers, and a 21-point loss to Minnesota. And you're on the road in Purdue. The Boilermakers are not superheroes, but they've scored 30-plus in their last 3, including a 40 spot on Michigan State and 31 against Ohio State. The Hoosiers can go kick rocks. The Boilermakers are going to win this game by 1 billion points.
By 1 billion. You heard it there first from Kyle as he lays the 15.
Just buy the line up,
Yeah. How far can we buy it the other direction? Can we buy it to 1 million? Or what can you buy it to? See what odds they'll offer you for that. Joe, your second go for I'm sitting down for this, luckily. Yeah. Where are you going for your second go for 2 pick today?
Nothing like counting on a team to cover a 20-plus point spread here on your final go for 2 pick of the season. But that's what we're doing. Notre Dame and Stanford. Give me the Irish minus 20.5. This week, my entire thought process has been all about teams needing to make a statement, and I think Notre Dame can do that. This is it for the conference-less Notre Dame Fighting Irish, right? This is their last chance to make an impression on the College Football Playoff Committee. And the Irish, they're really hot right now. Their last 3 games, they've combined to win 117-9. Meanwhile, this Stanford team is a mess. They got blown out over the last couple of weeks by Cal and Oregon State. I mean, the average Stanford game this year has been a 21-32 loss for the Cardinal. I don't trust them to show up. Notre Dame needs this in a big way. They need all the style points they can get. And so I'm comfortable, despite laying 20.5 points, that Notre Dame comes out and really puts an exclamation point on their resume for the College Football Playoff Committee.
If I had an approval maraca, I would give it to Joe right now.
You would shake the approval. Joe, can you do it on behalf of Kyle? Is that allowed? There it is. I will say, part of me really thought we were going to get the ultimate Joe double down, and we were going to get 2 3-unit plays, in which Joe would just double down on 2 picks he made earlier and go for just 6 units all in on 2 games.
It doesn't count, but let's say I did. Give me Ohio State minus 7 and the over in Alabama and Auburn at 57.
You've just doomed both of those bets.
So no. What he has done here is he has doomed his current goal for two bets because those two are going to hit, and the two that he took now are not going to hit. So that's what he's just done. Right. He has set himself up for a failure. Bold bets time. These ones don't count to the leaderboards. These are just things that you've looked at when you were going through the schedule, and you said, "Man, I want to take that." So, Joe, your bold take bet for this last week of the college football regular season is?
Yeah, so Tulsa is playing SMU today. I like the Tulsa money line. Obviously, we know SMU's coach is on his way to TCU, and SMU's not been playing well. They've lost 3 of their last 4 after that 7-0 start. And Tulsa, we got to give this team some credit. They've faced a daunting schedule all year long. They've played Oklahoma State. They've played Ohio State. They've played Cincinnati, and they played them all close. Oklahoma State was a 5-point loss. They kept it within 20 against Ohio State, which is pretty impressive. And then they only lost by a touchdown to Cincinnati. And so I think they get SMU at the right time, and they steal one to close out this season despite being a 6.5-point road underdog. So Tulsa with the pulse this year and playing tough, and I think that they get a hard-earned win at the end of the season here.
Kyle, which I know you. There's a big money line that you're taking here because that's what you love to do in this spot. So which team is it?
Well, it is going to disappoint you because it's not as big as the money line that Joe just took. I'm taking Army on the road against
Service
Liberty.
Academy.
Yes, we are doing a Service Academy bet to close out this season of the college football money down. Liberty has come up short in a few of their tough matchups this season. Army is a tough team. They are very hard-nosed, disciplined on the defensive side of the ball. I think they'll play discipline and force Malik Willis to play with precision to try to beat them, and he may do that. He may not, but looking for some good karma. We're going with the Knights. They've been kind to me this year, other than when they gave up 70 points to Wake Forest on 15 plays earlier in the year. But other than that, the Knights have been kind. I'm hoping to parlay them into one of the teams that I know I can bank on and not be on the list next year. So go Knights today.
That is it for us here on the college football edition of the Money Down. We appreciate all of you joining us each week throughout the season. For Henry behind the scenes making all of this stuff happen. Tamara.
Yeah, round of applause for Henry, man.
Yeah, Henry, fantastic job putting this together.
And Tamara's not with us today, but she's also been a rock star.
Also, round of applause as well. So this has been a lot of fun to do this. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. The guys are at the SEC championship game next weekend. But potentially, I don't know. Again, rumors are rumors. But I've heard there might be a bowl special coming up in which some bowl picks might be made. You just have to stay tuned. You just have to wait and see whether or not that's going to happen. But you're looking for some more betting advice, betting action, we got the Money Down NFL show. That show continues all throughout the regular season and into the postseason. So you have that each and every Sunday. Tomorrow, Jamie, Brentley, Kelsey, they will take you through the games and make all of their picks. So everybody enjoy the college slate this weekend. We thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.